I was talking yesterday about how there's two ways if you're going to examine outrages that are being discussed in the news, uh, and they're clearly outrageous. And by outrageous, I don't just mean flamboyant. I mean the definition of outrageous, that meaning the kind of outrageous that should make any sane person with a sense of justice outraged. Or a sense of propriety, or a sense of a sense of common sense. It ought to outrage everybody. Um, and I talked in that video about how you can just dwell on the outrage, which is what a lot of these news sites do, or a lot of the people who report on these news sites, a lot of the conservative or right wing media, or people on YouTube, who are reporting these outrages. They spend more time just saying how angry they are about it, and how outrageous it is, and why is this happening? Why are we allowing this to happen? Blah blah blah. And that's sort of I don't think I said this in the video the other day, but that's like a, in its own way, I understand that reaction. I completely understand it. But if you're going to get on and talk about it, that's kind of an invitation to just what's the word? Well, it's black pilling, in the sense that you know these things are happening. You can't do much about them. You can't do much to change them. And but you know that they're wrong. So if you just and yeah, that's sort of understood. And what I was trying to say in that video the other day was that I like to go a little bit deeper than that, just because I think it's more useful to go deeper and not just talk about, come on, people, get angry, get outraged, and just revel in your, or not even revel. There's nothing enjoyable about it. You're just, it's like a feeling of utter impotence. But rather than just having, rather than just being demoralized, like, try to go deeper and ask what's really going on here. I've got two stories that I wanted to discuss that ran, my consciousness became aware of. I didn't seek them out. These things find me one way or another. I don't watch the news. I don't read the news. I don't peruse headlines. I make a conscious effort to avoid doing such things. But I'm going to start with the less egregious one. Even though it is egregious in its own way, it's only aesthetically egregious, as opposed to being a clear sense of a clear miscarriage of justice. There's and this is maybe a little old now. Maybe a couple weeks old. But maybe y'all have heard about this Anglican church, actually a cathedral, this historic cathedral in Canterbury. It's the hub of the Anglican church, in the same way that Rome is the hub of, or Vatican City is the hub of the Catholic Church. This Canterbury is the seat of the Anglican Church in England. Now, mainstream Anglicanism has gone way, way off the rails. It's been off the rails for a long, long time. But there are church bodies within Anglicanism that are traditional, that still believe in traditional and orthodox, with a small o, Christianity, the tenets of Christianity. It's just that the main powers that be, in the liberal West, they've gone way off the rails, and of course they have uh, a lesbian bishop taking over at the beginning of next year, and so yeah, they're hemorrhaging members. It's the typical mainline liberal Protestant deal. But in any case, this cathedral in Canterbury, it's millennia old. This is a historic site, or an historic site, whatever. This is where the play written by T.S. Eliot called Murder in the Cathedral, this is where that play was set, and it was based on an actual incident. It was based on when St. Thomas à Becket was murdered in the cathedral by the king's forces because he wouldn't give in to the demands of the secular authorities. So they murdered him in the cathedral. And that's a particularly egregious thing to do. That's a particularly sacrilegious thing to do, to intentionally take a person's life in a bloody and violent way in a house of worship. That's a desecration. And what's happened recently is no less a desecration, albeit one that doesn't involve a murder. What's happened recently is the Anglican Church, in all of its wisdom, has opted to have this art exhibit where they've brought in these graffiti artists, and I don't think, at least I'm hoping that they didn't actually come in with spray paint. I'm hoping that these are just like stickers or something that they will come off. But they've taken this beautiful old church, this old church, that has such history. If you have any reverence for history, if you have reverence for human history, much less English history, you and an awareness that this is a house of worship, whether you are a worshiper or not. There ought to be some awareness that, we don't do that. We don't have this place defaced by graffiti. But the Anglican Church did it. They had this done as like an art exhibit. And so I'll try to remember to post the link, but you can find this online easily. And of course it's caused this outrage that in this old historic church, there's like graffiti tags everywhere, on the walls, on the columns. I've been to this church. It was a long time ago. It was in 1980. My father had took a trip with students. He was a professor at Emory University, and he and another professor had this student trip where they took a bunch of psychology students to England, and we came along. The rest of the family came along. My family and the other professor's family came along, and I remember seeing the cathedral back then, but of course I was just 9 years old. It was a long time ago, but I remember it being an impressive place. And it's upsetting, even though I'm not Anglican, it's upsetting. It should be upsetting to anyone who has, again, a sense of reverence for what's supposed to be a holy house, a house of worship, to have it be defaced in this manner. Now, the Anglican Church had this art exhibit take place in their church to, the idea, the stated reason was something like, oh, well, we want to see where faith and culture meet, and, and faith and this is graffiti art is art. And so we want to Uh, you know, it was some cockamamie thing, but that's bullshit, right? The real reason for doing this is to outrage. The real reason for doing this is to demoralize. And I think that's what we ought to focus on, rather than just being in a snit, rather than being outraged and upset, because that's what they want. You know, they want to make people who are fuddy-duddies or whatever. They want to, and of course they have their ways of their ways of defending this, doing this, but it's sheer sophistry. We know what it's about. It's about demoralizing. It's about making the church into a laughingstock. It's about taking what is sacred and subjecting it to, again, to ruination. It's about the act of desecration and just shoving it in your face, shoving your face right into it. And of course, we know the utility of demoralization. And in any war, one side will, you know, have has propaganda that's aimed at the other side. You know, where they send out the message, look, you guys can't win. You're gonna, your boys are all gonna die in this useless war. You know, so you should be demoralized and give up the effort. That's the same. This is a demoralization campaign. That's all there is to it. There's nothing more really to be said about it than that. And once you realize that, and once you concede that the people who are the head of the Anglican Church are your enemies, you know, are the enemies of what is sacred, then you just shrug and move on. You say it's a desecration, you say it's an outrage, but you refuse to let them get your goat about it. You know, you move on and observe what's happening, and that's that. So that's what I wanted to say about this one thing. Now I'm going to make the other thing into a separate video. So, but thanks for